This is Read Aloud of Tahir Benjelloun's The Sand Child. In my version, I'm on page 127. This is chapter 16, Fatuma. Men. There is a piety that I love and seek, the piety of memory. I like it because it asks no questions. I know you possess this quality. Thus, I shall forestall your questions and satisfy your curiosity. You are sitting on the floor with your backs to the wall, facing the mountain. A band of cloud is hiding its summit. Very soon the colors will slowly mingle with the clouds. They will provide a spectacle for the eye and spirit that can wait for it. As the poet says, one can only forget time by making use of it. Before time it made use of me, and in the end I forgot myself. My body, my soul, the fire I could raise, the dawn in which I took refuge, all that left me indifferent. Everything was silent around me, the water, the spring, the moon, the street. And I came from far away, very far. I have tramped endless roads, crossed frozen territories, and endless spaces filled with shadows and tents. Countries and centuries have passed before my eyes. My feet still remember them. I keep my memory on the soles of my feet. Was it I who moved forward, or the earth that moved beneath my feet? No. I made up those journeys, those nights without dawns, as I lay in a tall, narrow, circular room, a room overlooking the terrace. The terrace was on a hill, and the hill was painted on a piece of pale red silk. I had taken up residence at the top of the house, the windows and door closed. Light was undesirable. I felt freer in the darkness. I organized my journeys from bits and pieces of travelers' accounts. If I had been a man, I would have said, I am Ibn Battuta, but I am only a woman, and I live in a room at the height of a hanging tomb. I went to Mecca more out of curiosity than faith. I was drowned by that horde dressed in white, jostled and crushed. There was not a great deal of difference between my bare room and the great mosque. At no moment did I lose consciousness. On the contrary, everything brought me back to myself and to my small world, where my ties were devouring and exhausting me. It was strictly forbidden to leave the pilgrimage before its end, but I couldn't stand it any longer. I had lost track of the potter, the man who was supposed to supervise and protect my virtue. For the first time I wanted to put an end to it. Death means so little in those places. I had within me, in my breast, something that had been put there by familiar hands. I held back a long, painful cry. I knew it wasn't mine, yet I had a sense that it was up to me whether I uttered that cry, a cry that would shatter the compact body of the crowd of worshippers, that would make the mountains surrounding the holy places shake. That cry, imprisoned within my rib cage, was that of a woman. The need to expel it from my body became more and more urgent as the crowd surrounding me grew larger. I knew, intuitively again, that this woman had left it inside me just before dying. She was young and sick. She probably suffered from asthma or epilepsy. I'm not sure. In any case, I had to have reached that place of prayer and meditation to feel this desire to rend the heavens with my cry, a deep cry of which I possessed the seeds but not the causes. I felt quite capable of making that cry, thus doing justice to the absent one, the sick creature who had lived so little and so poorly. Later I wondered, why did that cry find refuge in me and not in a man, for example? An inner voice answered that the cry should have been in a man's breast, and there had been a mistake. Or rather, the young woman had preferred to give it to a woman, capable of feeling the same suffering as herself. I moved on through the crowd, my chest thrust out, pregnant with that cry. As the pilgrims dispersed, I no longer felt a need to cry out. The tension that had driven me forward abated. I left Mecca without regret and took the first available boat. I love traveling by boat. To be on the ocean, far from all ties, not to know where I'm going, to be suspended without past or future, to be in the immediate moment, surrounded by that blue immensity, to watch the thin envelope of the sky at night, when so many stars thread their way in and out of it, to feel myself in the gentle grip of a blind sensation that slowly turns into a melody, something between melancholy and inner joy. That was what I liked. That ship reconciled me with the interrupted wedding of silence. My pilgrimage, even if left unfinished, had freed me. When I returned to my own country, I did not go back to my own home. I had no wish to return to that old dilapidated house where the rest of my family still lived in intermittent misfortune. I abandoned my room and my books without regret. At night I slept in a mosque. Crouching in my jaleba, the hood pulled down over my face, I could be taken for a man, some mountain tribesman lost in the city. Then it occurred to me that I could disguise myself as a man. It wouldn't take a lot. It was just a matter of arranging appearances. When I was young and rebellious, I used to amuse myself by changing my image. I have always been slim, which made it easier. It was an extraordinary experience to pass from one state to another. I would change my image, change my face, but keep the same body, and exult in wearing that mask. And then everything froze. The moment became a room. The room became a sunny day. Time, a few old bones left in this cardboard box. In this box are old, odd shoes, a handful of unused nails, a Singer sewing machine that turns of its own volition, an airman's glove snatched from a corpse, a caught spider, a razor blade, a glass eye, and, of course, the inevitable worn old mirror, which has shed all its images. Indeed, all the objects in that box belong only to its own imagination. It no longer gives out objects, for it has emptied itself during a long absence. I now know that the key to our story is to be found among these old things. I daren't rummage among them for fear of having my hand snatched by mechanical jaws, which, though rusty, still work. They don't come from the mirror, but from its double. I forgot to mention that. I didn't exactly forget. I was superstitious. Never mind. We won't leave this room without finding the key. And for that, it will be necessary to mention, if only by allusion, the mirror's double. Don't look for it with your eyes. It's not in this room. At least, it's not visible. It's a peaceful garden with oleanders, smooth stones that capture and hold the light. This garden is also frozen, suspended. It is secret, as is the path to it. Few individuals who know of it are those who have familiarized themselves with eternity, who sit out there on a stone that maintains the day intact, held in their gaze. They hold the threads of the beginning and the end. The stone closes off the entrance to the garden. The garden looks out on the sea, and the sea swallows and carries off all the stories that are born and die between the flowers and the roots of plants. In this way I learned to be in the dream and to make of my life an entirely invented story, a tale that recalls what really took place. Is it out of boredom or lassitude that one gives oneself another life, puts it on like a wonderful magic jalaba, a cloak cut out of the sky and studded with stars? In my retirement, silent and motionless, I witnessed my country's removal. Men and history, plains and mountains, meadows and even the sky are disappearing. Only the women and kids remain. It looks as if they were staying to guard the country, but there's nothing to guard. They come and go, bustle around, get by. Those who have been driven out of the countryside by drought and irrigation projects roam the cities. They beg. They are rejected, humiliated. They go right on begging, snatch what they can. Children, many of them die, far too many, so more are produced, more and still more. To be born a boy is the lesser of two evils. To be born a girl is a calamity, a misfortune that is left at the roadside where death passes by at the end of the day. Oh, I'm not telling you anything new. My story is an old one from before Islam. My words don't carry much weight. I'm only a woman. I have no tears left. I learned early that a woman who weeps is lost. I acquired a determination never to be that weeping woman. I have lived in the illusion of another body, with someone else's clothes and emotions. I deceived everyone right up to the day when I realized that I was deceiving myself. Then I began to look around a bit, and what I saw deeply shocked me. How could I live like this, in a glass cage, living a lie, suffering the contempt of others? One cannot move from one life to another simply by crossing a bridge. In my case, I had to rid myself of what I was, enter into oblivion and remove all traces. The opportunity came to me through the kids. All those kids in the shanty towns, thrown out of the schools, without work, without roofs over their heads, without a future, without hope. They had gone out into the streets, first with empty hands, then carrying stones, demanding bread, yelling any slogan that came into their heads. They could no longer contain their violence. Women and men who were out of work joined them. I was in the street, not knowing what to think. I had no reason to demonstrate with them. I had never known hunger. As the army fired into the crowd, I happened to find myself with the kids, almost by chance, confronting the forces of order. That day I knew fear and hatred. Everything changed. I got a bullet in my shoulder. Some women who were standing at their doors urging on the demonstrators quickly took me in and hid me. When I entered that poor family's house, rescued by women whose children must have been among the crowd, I felt an emotion so strong that I forgot the pain caused by my wound. Tending me with skill and kindness, they kept me for a long time in their home. The police were looking everywhere for the wounded in order to arrest them. They even mounted guard at the cemeteries. The idea was to cleanse the country of the bad seed in order to prevent new riots. Alas, the country wasn't really cleansed. Other, bloodier riots took place 15 and 20 years later. Meanwhile, I had lost the big notebook to which I had consigned my story. I tried to reconstruct it, but in vain. Then I went out in search of the story of my earlier life. The rest you know. I admit that I took great pleasure in listening to the storyteller, and then to you. It gave me the privilege of reliving certain stages in my life 20 years later. Now I am very tired. I must ask you to leave me. As you see, I am old, though not so much in years. It's not usual to be the bearer of two lives. I was so afraid of getting mixed up, of losing the thread of the present and being imprisoned in that magical luminous garden where not a word must enter. That's the end of the chapter.